Yes, and she was the one that referred me to the one drop group. And coincidentally, that when I started asking around about it, one of my other colleagues was already a member. And one of the parents, when I went to attend one of the first talk, I actually ran into her and she was also a member. So, quite a number of the families do use the oils. One of the reasons why we started exploring is because we use a brain-based approach when we work on intervention. A lot of the developmental concerns, whether it's autism, dyslexia, ADHD, a lot of it stems from the brain. And especially in recent years, now that we have MRI machines and all that, we actually know that it's different parts of the brain that's impacted, in particular the prefrontal cortex. So a lot of the work we do targets the work of the prefrontal cortex, which is things like your reasoning, your hypothesizing, your executive functions, basically. Now, one of the difficulties we've had is that because our kids have a very high level of anxiety for some of them. So because of the high level of anxiety, if you look at how the brain works, there's this area of the brain, your limbic area, which also houses your amygdala. What happens is that when they're very anxious, the amygdala actually hijacks the brain. So then they get so anxious that they lose all sense of reasoning and all sense of thought. So when we try and work on all these higher order processes and they're very anxious all the time, we can still get things done, but it's slow moving for kids that are very, very anxious. So we've been looking at different ways to try and lower the anxiety. So we've looked at massage, which helps. Touch is a great way. But we also know that smells go directly into the brain. So that's why we started to look at this. Now, when you look at different conditions like autism, there are a lot of other things in addition to just the emotions and all that. But these are the areas that we're looking at. There are many other things that some other families have considered. So things like looking at gut issues and all that. We haven't explored that as much for a few reasons. It's complex. And a lot of our families actually have to have very detailed testing done. Some are done locally, they actually fly overseas to do some of this testing. And it's only when they've done the testing to find out what the conditions are, then they look at possibly using the oils. So these are just some sites that support some of these conditions that you might be able to get more details about. But if, let's say, you have a child with special needs, what I would suggest, do the testing first. So just a simple example, a lot of people always assume kids on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, they have a low level of serotonin. That is not the case for every child. There are some kids that have a high level of serotonin. So we actually need to understand the child's individual brain biochemistry. Okay? And so a whole comprehensive test needs to be done with regards to that before you actually look at treatment, because you don't know what you're treating, so you have to explore that. So that's one of the reasons why we personally don't go so in depth. Families do, but we may not, in terms of our own line of work. So what we try to do is we try and look at these areas, increasing focus. Because if we can get them to focus, then we can get them to work on the prefrontal areas of the brain. We look at managing emotions, because again, if we can calm them down, we can get the prefrontal to start working. And we look at two areas, two people rather. We look at the child and the parent. Because we also know that when parents are anxious, when parents are stressed, that actually gets translated to their kids. There's actually been studies that have been done looking at EEGs of babies. And they found that they can actually tell which baby from the EEG has a depressed mother without even testing the mother. They just look at the child's EEG. Okay? Because our emotions, because our kids are so close to us, our emotions will transfer to our kids. Alright? So that's why we look at these two areas. And just as an aside, parents of, especially mothers, of children with special needs are a highly stressed group. I mean, if you're a parent yourself, you would know that. And they say that this is a rough estimate. for every year that you have to look after a child with special needs, you age equivalent to about 6 to 7 years. Very rough estimate, okay? That's been done by researchers that look at the field of stress and all that. But yeah, just a little knowledge. So that's why we have to take care of the parents as well, because you know the parents need that support. Okay, so moving on into what our families have used. Brain power, one of the most popular oils that for families that are using oils, many of them are using it. One of the reasons is the high stochastines. So Rachel and Phyllis talked about that. This passes through the blood-brain barrier. So what it does is that it oxygenates cells, especially your brain cells. Okay, so it helps you with your focus. It helps you with your concentration. I know one of our kids who is more vocal. He actually talks about this, and he says that it really helps him a lot, helps him concentrate for 4 hours of tuition. Yeah, right? So you know, so this is testimony from the child himself. You know, so yeah, one of the more popular oils that have been used. These are some of the ingredients inside it. So if you look at some of the ingredients, again, you can get a lot of all this online. If you look at some of the ingredients, you can understand why. Because a lot of it is about stimulating the brain and all that. Okay? The other oil that some families have used is Clarity. Clarity, in comparison to brain power, a lot cheaper. You know, so if you just want to use like in general concentration, focus, you can start with Clarity first before you go into brain power, because brain power is a lot more pricey. From the same child who talked about brain power, what he has said is that Clarity helps, but not to the extent of brain power for him. Alright. So again, this is individual differences. So it depends on what works for you. So like what Rachel and Phyllis were saying, it's a very individual thing. There are a lot of oils that serve a lot of similar purpose, but what works for one person may not work for another person. So you really have to try it out and see what it is that helps. And for some of our kids who can verbalize it, hey, it's great, they can give you the feedback. For kids that cannot verbalize it, the best thing as parents that we can do is observe. Observe their reaction, observe their responses to it. Cedarwood is another one. Again, it contains a high level of stochastides, and there was a study done that showed that it increased the performance by 83%. So that's a pretty high percentage. Vetiver, of course, has a higher percentage in the same study. But still, not too bad, especially since cedarwood is available in Singapore. And vetiver is and cheap. Yes. And cheap. Yes. So you can diffuse it. But I think for a lot of our kids, especially if they're using it for school, you have to apply it. You know, there are no ways around it. So the typical places that most families apply: brainstem, temples, sometimes top of the head. Okay, so these are the usual areas that the families will apply the oils, especially if you're using it for school, because you really can't ask the school teachers to diffuse. I think only one childcare has been diffusing, to our knowledge, that works with our kids. But yeah, if you go to other schools, special schools, mainstream schools, not gonna happen. Okay, so vetiver was another oil that was in the study, and it was found to increase performance by 100%.
Wow, so
yes, very impressive. But vetiver you have to order from the US office.
Yeah,
not available.
Not available
In Singapore. And vetiver is a very thick oil.
Yes.
Okay, so because it's a very thick oil, application becomes more challenging. You can either use a roller, or you can mix it with some other oil like frankincense, so that it doesn't become so thick, and then you can try and apply it. Alright? Again, it depends on the individual person. I personally can't stand the smell of vetiver.
Yes, I checked another brand.
you know. And one of our kids uses vetiver when he comes for our education program here. And the teachers will tell you they couldn't stand the smell when you apply. But what they have also said is that after how long? Was it a week? A few weeks? Yeah, they actually got used to the smell and they found it quite alright, you know. So, hey, you know.
It helps the teacher too, I guess.
I guess so. I you have to ask the teachers whether it helps them or not. But yeah, so that's one you have to order from the US office, not available. Lavender, as you've heard, all the wonderful properties. I also love lavender. I use it for all my daughter's cuts and bruises and all that. But again, it also is an oil that increases performance by up to 53%. Okay, not as good as vetiver, but it smells nicer in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, cedarwood also smells nicer. 83% is still not bad. You know? And there's the university in Japan. They did a study and they found that the people that did the work in that study, they actually decreased the errors in their work by 20%. Not a huge amount, but still not too bad. And when they look at the brain waves, it also helps with relaxation. So lavender is one of the really good oils and one of the oils that we always associate with relaxation. One thing to keep in mind, there are some kids who on the autism spectrum, I don't know why, they actually hate the smell of lavender. They are very sensitive to the smell, they can't stand it. So they don't find it relaxing. So we have to actually see whether that child actually likes the smell of lavender, because some of our kids don't. They can't stand it. So yeah, then that won't serve the purpose of helping them relax. And frankincense. Frankincense in this one was done. They did a study on a small class of children with autism. And this is a very, very small class. And within that class, they found it helped with their concentration and engagement. So this is another oil that so far most of the kids on the spectrum actually like. So if you think about, you know, when you compare, okay, should I use lavender or whatever else, maybe you might consider frankincense. Much more expensive, yes. But so far, many of the kids actually prefer the smell and they don't mind the smell so much. So you might want to like start with something like frankincense before you build up to some of the rest where they may not like. And some of the rest, for those who smell the smells you don't like, you might start at the bottom of the feet first and then sort of like work your way up. Once they get used to the smell, you might be able to apply it further up. Because when we talk about things like emotions and all that, you actually really need the aroma, you need the smell for them to work on the limbic and the emotions. So usually what we suggest in terms of application, chest, above the heart, you know, so that they can get the aroma and reap the benefits.